Hello. Make sure that you are gluing into your notes, updating your table of contents, and then I want you to go on Moby Max for 5 minutes. Today we're going to be talking about prime factorization, okay? Because we are going to be using what we learned about both exponents and prime and composite numbers to make a prime factorization of a given number. So prime factorization is a way to show composite numbers using products of prime numbers. Now remember, composite numbers mean that I can divide it by more than one in itself. And prime numbers means I get to the point that I can't divide it by anything else besides one in itself. A way to do that is to show a factor tree. Okay? So I have to think, what two numbers can I multiply together to get 18? And that would be, there's many different options, but I'm going to use 9 and 2. Okay, now I have to go back and think, start the same process all over again. What two numbers can I multiply together to get 9? Well, that is 3 and 3. Okay. Now I'm to the point that I can't divide 2 by any other number besides 1 in itself, and I can't divide 3 by any other number by 1 in itself. Okay, so my options are 3, 3, and 2. Now, when you write your prime factorization, there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. The first thing is that you always need to go from smallest to largest. So I look at the smallest number I have, and that's 2. Okay. The second thing to think about is everything is multiplication. So I need to be writing my multiplication sign in between these numbers. So I have 2 times 3 times 3. Okay. Now, what we also want to think about is our knowledge of exponents from yesterday. So I can write this using exponents. Okay, I can think that I have 1, 2, but I have 2 3s. So I can write that as 3 to the second power. Okay, so my answer is 2 times 3 times 3, or 2 times 3 to the second power. Okay, so let's look at 24, and we want to write it out in expanded form and using exponents. Okay, so 24. I need to think of two numbers that I can multiply together to get 24. You can use any two numbers that you can think of first. I'm going to use 4 and 6. Okay, now I have to think my next line. Are 4 and 6 both prime numbers? They are not. I can take 4, and that is 2 times 2. And I can take 6, and that is 2 times 3. Okay, I am now to the point that all of my numbers at the end are prime. So now I can write it in expanded form and using exponents. Okay, so I look at 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, or I have 3 2's, so I write that as 2 to the third power and 1 3. So 2 to the third times 3. Now I can actually double check that to make sure that that is equal to 24. If I take 2 times 2, that is 4, times 2, that is 8, times 3 is 24. And then I know that this prime factorization is equal to my original number. Okay. Another example is 50. Okay, again, you can use many different options. I'm going to use 2 times 25. Okay. 2 is a prime number, so I'm done there, but 25 I can break down into 5 times 5. Okay? And 5 and 5 are both prime numbers. It may help you to use the sheet that we made on Wednesday with our crayons about as far as if numbers are prime or composite. Okay? I now have all prime numbers, so I can write it in an expanded form, or I need to write it using exponents. And I have 2 5s, so that is 5 to the second power. Okay, and you need to make sure that you are writing it in both forms, because you're going to be asked to write it in both forms on your homework. Our next example is 17. If you were looking at your sheet, or if you remember from Wednesday, you remember that 17 is actually a prime number. Okay, so you're not supposed to use 1 in a factor tree. So that we would say that the prime factorization of 17 is just simply 17. Okay, and since there's only one of them, then you can't write it in exponential form, because it in fact would be 17. All right, now I want you to take a few minutes to try these 3 on your own. Then come back and double check to make sure that they are correct. So pause your screen, try them, and then come back. All right, let's look at these examples. Okay, so if I think of 90, 90 is 9 times 10. And I can break that into 3 times 3 times 2 times 5. And those are all prime numbers. Okay, so I need to put them in order from least to greatest. So I go 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. Okay, I have a double number, so I can write it using exponents, which is 2 times 3 to the second power times 5. Okay, 12, I can break that down into 2 times 6. 2 is a prime number, so now I'm looking at 6 is 2 times 3. Okay, so that would be 2 times 2 times 3. And I look at 2 times 2, that's a double, so that's 2 squared, or 2 to the second power, times 3. And the last one is 91. Okay, now remember again, if you look at your sheet, you should have colored it that it is in fact a composite number. Okay, this one might be a little bit more difficult, but keep trying until you can figure out. Try and divide it by 2, and then try 3, 4, 5, 6. And once you get to 7, you will realize that 91 is divisible by 7. It's 7 times 13. Okay, so I would write it 7 times 13, and I don't have any doubles, so that would indeed be my way I would write it using exponents as well. Okay, remember, once you're done here, you need to go back onto the Schoology page and take the 5-question quick check before going up to the sub to get your assignment. All right, the first thing you need to do next is you need to go on and you need to take the prime factorization quick check, which is on Schoology. And then you need to go up and show the sub your notes and get your homework. And your homework is due on Tuesday. Come Monday ready to ask questions if you still have questions when you're done. Have a great rest of your day.